And it's good content, too. Alright. Let's dive into the roots of QAnon. I found this interesting little documentary, mini-doc, on CNN. And I feel like this is going to be really interesting. Hey! James from the internet! James from the Wonternet. Everyone go check out James. Based content creator. Let's get a shout out for him in chat. Oh lordy. Oh, Irked! That emote is so cute! I love it! I love the Kodama from Princess Mononoke. Because I'm a big nerd. Wait. Unmute site. There we go. Turn down music. There we go. Perfect. Let's go.
Hey all, I'm John Avalon with Reality Check, Extremist Beat Edition. Now, unfortunately, you probably know about QAnon, the totally baseless and completely bonkers conspiracy theory that gained traction during the Trump years. But you might not know the roots of Q, the echoes of much older conspiracy theories that help it find a fertile field in the minds of folks who keep pushing its false narratives. Listen to extremist preacher Greg Locke in a recent rant posted by Right Wing Watch.
Avery Isher, are about to be exposed. These bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood are going to be exposed for who they are. I don't care what you think about fraudulent Sleepy Joe. He's a sex trafficking, demon-possessed mongrel. He's of the left. He ain't no better than the Pope and Oprah Winfrey and Tom Hanks and the rest of that wicked crowd. God is going to bring the whole house down. People like...
preachers like this really bother me. Like, again, and this is something we covered a lot yesterday, but I don't think religion is the problem. It's the fundamentalism. The fundamentalism, whether it's in political ideology or in religion, absolutely destroys human beings. Absolutely destroys them. And you can get this in political ideology as well, you know? And I don't know. As someone who came from a background very similar to the fundamentalist Christian background, it is very scary to me whenever I see what I could have been, you know? Exactly, Finn. Anything that can't be questioned is sus as fuck. And also, there's a reason why fascism has been described as cult-like, or the closest political ideology to a religious belief, religious fundamentalism, and it's because it taps into this fundamentalist ideology. Anything can. It's just that religion tends to do it the most.
Do you really think it's that much of an epidemic? Do you honestly believe, we're going to get some more crazy, do you honestly believe, Pastor Locke, that...
Oh, wait, you're getting somewhat crazy. Okay, I thought you had already gotten there, but we're going plus ultra in this bench.
Military uncovered tunnels beneath the Capitol building and beneath the White House and in the Five-Fingered Lakes. Do you really believe that they found kids? Yeah, both live ones and dead ones.
What?
Okay, there's a lot going on there, but at least two things really jumped out to me. The unhinged accusations of satanic child abuse and the mention of the Pope and tunnels under the White House. Because, unconsciously or not, they riff off some of the oldest and ugliest anti-Semitic and anti-Catholic tropes. And most of the listeners probably missed it. So there's a centuries-old hateful conspiracy called blood libel, which baselessly accused the people of the Jewish faith of killing Christian children to use their blood in religious rituals.
By the way, when talking about blood libel, you might be like, wow, who does that anymore? You know who talks about blood libel explicitly on his program? Alex Jones. Alex Jones talks about blood libel when talking about the cabal that controls the world. Cabal and blood libel are both indicate Judaism. Like, he doesn't come out and say Jews are running the world. He just implies it with words that mean Jewish people are doing it. Wait, does he explicitly come out and say Jewish people are controlling the world? If he does, I would love a clip of him saying that. Are you drinking a massive energy drink? I am indeed. Look, I'm very gay and very tired and very depressed. I need to get my energy where I can. Yeah, no, he basically does everything except for, like, say it is the Jews. I haven't seen him say that. If he has said it, I would love a clip of him doing that. But I very clearly remember Alex Jones talking about blood libel. In fact, on one of his more prominent shows, like a year or so ago. Hey, Storm of Fury, what up? Globalist is another one of those phrases that does mean Jews. Like, do you ever wonder why everyone suddenly started talking about globalist, right? Well, the reason the people on the far right do it is because it is their shorthand for, like, well, powerful people control the world, and wow, it just so happens that powerful people happen to be Jewish people, and now Jewish people are controlling the world, so globalism is a way of referring to Jewish people. Now, obviously, not everyone is aware of this language, especially in America. There are a lot of people who don't understand these things, don't understand the shorthand phrases and the indicators of this. But it is laid out in the language so that when someone comes along to radicalize them to the far right, they can basically be like, well, you know, globalist basically means Jew, right? Look, the Jews are running the world. I mean, look at XYZ. Soros is running the world. Yeah, no, it is straight up Nazi shit. Though, Detken, this is something I learned relatively recently, and I've been saying it a lot on this platform, but do you know why Hitler awarded a medal to Henry Ford? Do you know why? It's because Henry Ford introduced Hitler to the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is an anti-Semitic screed that, by the way, isn't even original. The fascist Nazis who came up with the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, they took it from a play making fun of people who hated Jewish folk. It's literally ripped out of a play that makes fun of fascists. Even their oldest conspiracy theories about the Jews can't be original. Like, they have to steal it. That's how like creatively bankrupt and silly and small smooth-brained. Yeah, no, irked. It's plagiarized from satire. Yeah, and then Henry Ford came to the United States and started publishing his own letter about how Jews were running the world, and that's what popularized it in the United States. Yeah. Yeah, the phrase international Jewry is straight from Henry Ford.
Use their blood in religious rituals. Now, this has been perpetuated in anti-Semitic propaganda for literally centuries, as this 1493 print demonstrates, which is provided by the Museum of Jewish Heritage, a living memorial to the Holocaust. Why has this hateful insanity persisted? Well, perhaps it's because it's such a primal way of bypassing logic and dehumanizing opponents. Likewise, you might have been surprised to hear the Pope invoked in that Mad Lib list of Hollywood celebrities. Anti-Catholic hate has a long history in the United States as well. Though now mostly forgotten, it helped fuel one of the first anti-immigrant political parties, the American Party, also known as the Know-Nothings, which gained power in the 1840s and 50s on the back of anti-Irish sentiment. Which brings me to that baseless and bizarre accusation about a tunnel under the White House. Well, as it turns out, in 1928, when New York Governor Al Smith became the first Catholic nominee for president, his opponents accused him of planning to build a tunnel to the Vatican. The image, sometimes used to substantiate this baseless claim, was actually a photo of Smith opening the Holland Tunnel, which connects New York to New Jersey. Now, these are all just synaptic snapshots, ugly echoes of past hate and prejudice that percolate through the roots of Q. CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan tells us about a surprising place that Q has popped up, co-opting Save the Children.
What's going on with Tom Hanks?
So you guys just want me to explain everything today, huh? Dude, it's all suspicion. That's suspicion.
How do you know that Tom Hanks is any good at this?
Donnie, you're on.
Got him. Got him. That absolute killer comeback, my dude.
The road, and you've been covering the QAnon movement extensively. And for that, by the way, you have my condolences. But in particular, they're co-opting of a legitimate charity called Save the Children. Explain.
Hey, John, yeah, that is sort of one of the real geniuses, essentially, of these conspiracy theories, is by hijacking the name of a real charity, which is called Save the Children. You can really help spread whatever BS is, behind all of this. And of course, by taking a phrase, something like Save the Children, I mean, who doesn't want to save children? I went along to a Save the Children protest in Los Angeles, which was actually a front for a QAnon event. Have a watch.
Do you follow QAnon? The FBI says it's a dangerous conspiracy theory.
Do I follow? No, I don't follow QAnon. I follow the missing children. I have a child right now in Ohio that my team is saving. That's what I want to talk about.
Yo, also, whenever these people talk about saving kids, that should be really worrying. These people have no idea what they're doing, and when they say saving kids, that could just mean breaking into a house and literally kidnapping children.
You posted about QAnon yesterday, right? On your Instagram story? So your mom watches CNN?
Yes.
So if your mom watches CNN, she's probably seen people like me on TV saying Pizzagate's a conspiracy theory. You don't believe it's a conspiracy theory?
No, it's definitely not. Pizza is a code word for child pornography. Cheese pizza, child pornography.
This stuff sticks in folks' minds, in part, I think, because of the
Jeez
negative
Louise.
partisanship of it, right? If defending children is wrong, then I don't want to be right. But it really does create a quote-unquote logic for their abandonment of logic, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it goes to the point of dehumanization. I mean, if you can successfully convince someone that a person, a public figure, is abusing children or is killing children, that of course.
Well, yeah, Psych Mania, they're not actually interested in saving children, and they don't think that Matt Gaetz actually molested kids. They think that that's like a 4D chess move by the people who really control the world,
Them to a degree that you would condone violence against them, perhaps. What's interesting about that clip there, John, is the guy at the start, the guy with the makeup on his face. He was the organizer of this event, and he was trying to be coy, where he was saying, "This is all about children. We're here to save the children. We have nothing to do with QAnon." And then, of course, we were able to catch him out by saying, well, actually, no, you're a QAnon guy. You were posting about this just yesterday. And then you saw that lady there in the middle. I spoke to her at length. She doesn't give a damn about politics. She doesn't give a damn really about Democrats or Republicans. She just really, really cares about children. I actually spoke to her her mom after that piece aired. And she was saying, my daughter used to babysit kids, just really has, you know, a great love and affection in her heart for children. And she's an example, I think, of somebody who's been pulled into this, somebody who is seeing this messaging online and, you know, might not necessarily appreciate that really this is all just a sort of cover for a political attack, essentially, but playing on those emotional heartstrings.
To take that sincere love and translate it into a belief that pizza and cheese pizza are code words for molestation and abuse is a form of abuse itself against these people.
Oh, by the way, for those of you wondering what play was plagiarized for the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, it's called The Dialogue in Hell Between Machiavelli and Montesquieu. So... There. This is the name of the play. Sorry, I was trying to find that during this while watching the video at the same time. I just realized I never learned what Pizzagate actually was. Yo, Avery, Pizzagate was basically just the idea that Hillary Clinton's emails revealed that she was talking in code about a child sex slavery ring being run out of the basement of a pizza shop in Washington, D.C., and it culminated in a guy with an AR going into said pizza shop, shooting it up, and demanding to know where the kids were in the basement. And at that point, it was revealed that this pizza place did not have a basement. In fact, there was no basement in the building at all. And so the Pizzagate conspiracy was essentially what kicked this off, and the idea being that Hillary Clinton's emails, but her emails, revealed this, like, vast conspiracy where they were using cheese pizza to refer to child pornography, CP. It's just, yeah, like, again, I think that politicians dabbling in QAnon conspiracy are literally stoking the flames of stochastic terror, you know? They don't have to say, go and shoot at blank, go and kill blank. They just have to say, well, blank is causing the downfall of Western society. Blank is, you know, an affront to your freedoms as a loving patriot and American. You know, they just have to invoke these vague kind of symbology, symbolism to get the adherents of Q to be like, oh, you really mean, okay, I get it. Say no more. I know that you can't actually say what you want to say, but I have heard the message loud and clear. You know, basically the entire QAnon movement is based on cryptic messages that they have to decode, and each individual person decodes it a little bit differently. And that means it allows for, like, you know, casual QAnon believers to be like, yeah, we need to go out and protest. But it also allows for deeper Q adherents to pick up their guns, to arm up, and then go and commit crimes. That threaten lives, you know, mass attacks. Yeah, Tucker Carlson's a great example of somebody who does this literally like every night. Minneapolis pizza is just dead carp on a salted board. Hundo, you take that back. There was a wonderful Pakistani pizza place near my college campus, and it's still the best pizza I've ever had. Conspiracy theories are what people use to explain the world when they don't have the framework of historical materialism. True! The worst part is, if you actually wanted to end, the sexual abuse of children, you don't have to look that far, guys. Most states in the United States, it's still legal to marry children. Like, in most of the United States, I think like 46 states, it's legal to marry children. There is no minimum age for marriage. Or if there is, it's like 10 years old, which results in fundamentalist religious families marrying off like 10-year-old girls to grown adult men. Like, if you really wanted to do something to stop like the abuse of children and the sexual abuse of children, we could just outlaw child marriages. Avery, yes. The political party that is most in favor of keeping child marriage is the Republican Party. Yeah, children, USA, where children are old enough to get married but not old enough to know what gender they are. Yeah, for real. By the way, it is infuriating. When I first started streaming like a year ago, one of the early things I learned on that made me really upset was learning that like literally hundreds of thousands of children, like tens of thousands of children, get married, are married off to adults every year. And it's resulted in like 300,000 children being married between the year 2000 and 2018. It's real fucked.
People who buy into this BS and don't realize how deeply they're being used. And Donnie, when we come back, you report on some of the pastors more about...
Yeah, after this video, I had planned on showing a little video about child marriages, so...
How they recognize that Q is infiltrating their congregations, and then what they're doing to combat it.
Even the groups that I was in, I was like, I'm going to these more than, I go to church once a week. I'm up here for 2 hours every single night, like committed to these. And I was like, that's probably not right. And then I started thinking, am I putting even Trump above God?
QAnon has moved beyond its sort of roots, quote unquote, as a sort of, a LARP perhaps, that was playing off hyper-partisan politics to become something like a belief system. And that's where it becomes even more insidious. And a recent study by the conservative-leaning American Enterprise Institute found that 27% of white evangelicals believed that Donald Trump was fighting a group of child sex traffickers. This is, of course, a core tenet of QAnon. But you've also interviewed influential pastors who are combating the rise of Q in their congregations. And here's one explaining why it takes hold.
The biblical worldview is that there's a God who's in control of the whole world. And one day, Jesus is going to come back. He's going to judge the wicked. Then you look at my understanding of QAnon's belief is that there's a Q that knows everything, and Donald Trump is going to come back and judge the wicked. It's easier for Christians who already have that belief system to make that jump over into believing that worldview.
All right. Without dignifying the comparison of Jesus Christ and Donald Trump, he's making the point that there's a template here that's essentially being filled in by folks with conspiracy theories they've seen online. Tell us more about that conversation and that overall dynamic.
QAnon.
Yeah, by the way, one of the things that makes evangelicals in the United States so scary is that they literally think that Donald Trump is some kind of prophet sent by God, that God can use even flawed instruments, so of course he can use Donald Trump. Kind of ignoring the fact that with that line of thinking that, God could use, like, Hillary Clinton, too, or Joe Biden. None of it makes sense, except for the cult of personality that they believe in.
These pastors say, has quite successfully sort of bastardized the story of Jesus Christ, or that fundamental story of good versus evil. And in the world of QAnon, I mean, Trump is God. In the world of QAnon, these messages from Q is essentially scripture. That's not to say that all QAnon believers are evangelicals or Christian nationals, but there is this conflation there.
In the name of Jesus, amen. Amen. Amen.
And of course, we saw on January 6th, people praying, people walking in under the Christian flag, going to the Capitol, people trying to claim the space, as it were, in the name of God.
It's fascinating that you mentioned that. I mean, it's a Christian nationalist theme that has run throughout aspects of American politics, particularly in recent decades. And Donnie, I think it's important to let the granddaughter...
Wait, what is the Christian flag? Sorry, that like took a minute to register in my brain. Huh. Well, sounds about white.
Of Billy Graham, the Reverend Billy Graham, have the last word, because real faith is very different than a conspiracy-driven belief system. Let's take a listen.
I think he would have spoken out against it. He was very true to God's word. It was just gospel and scripture. And you can't do that and believe in QAnon.
Doni, in talking to her, the granddaughter of Billy Graham, and other pastors, did you walk away having faith that ultimately that those religious traditions would be able to overcome these conspiracy theories that have insinuated themselves in those churches, in those congregations?
I didn't. One of them made the point to me. They said, I have an hour with my congregation every week. The other 167 hours of the week, people can be on Facebook. They can be living in this world of QAnon. And one of, I think, the big appeals of conspiracy theories, whether it's anti-vax, whether it's even the big lie about the election, whether it's QAnon, is if you're in that world, it's a nice, it can be a nice, warm place to be. People are very, very supportive of one another, and everybody is telling you you're right. And finally, John, I will just say, I met Ashley Vanderbilt, who's a young mom in South Carolina earlier this year, and she had fallen down the QAnon rabbit hole, and she is a Christian. And we spoke soon after she sort of snapped out of it. But she was saying that there were times where she was thinking to herself, wow, am I putting Trump on a pedestal with Jesus Christ here? Am I putting him above God? And she said there were...
The literal like tenets of QAnon like require you to do that.
Those moments, even when she was deep in the QAnon rabbit hole, that she said, wow, this is sort of a shocking thing if I, as a Christian all my life, are putting this man before God.
Those are called moments of clarity, I believe. And you make a profound point about people's deep need to feel a sense of belonging right now and how they're finding it online.
Exactly, McSpeals. Exactly. That's exactly it.
And it is difficult to compete, perhaps, if you have only 1 hour a day when the internet is always there. It brings to mind another biblical phrase: we reap what we sow. Doni O'Sullivan, thank you very much for joining us as always, my friend. Be well.
All right, so we have another piece here as kind of a companion, right? Why is this not working? All right, there we go. As the kind of companion here, campaign to end child marriage in the U.S. runs into some surprising opposition. So let's find out. This is from 2019. Or maybe not. Are we gonna refresh? Hello? 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 Okay. We're gonna click on this button. Child marriage. All right. $2019. We're looking for 2019. Man, it's wild. New York bans child marriage, raising age of consent to 18 from 14. Holy moly. Let's see here. Wait, maybe I need to copy and paste. Okay, well, we're going to Search Google, because this is the video that I would like to watch. Wait, does it have a name? It's just called child marriage. How am I supposed to find that? Do none of these work? Wait, 1 second. Maybe I need to enable, like, hardware acceleration?
Hey all, I'm John.
Nope. Alright. Do you work now? The amount of bullshit you have to deal with to, like, experience and, like, learn these stories is ridiculous. So, I guess as of 2019, you can't go back on CBS's site and watch videos. This is insane. Is it because it all got put onto, like, CBSN originals? Marriage, video. What the hell? Speaking frankly, child marriage.
Many people.
There we go. We just had to find it on YouTube via a very complicated series of looking.
Don't realize that child marriage happens in the U.S., and they certainly don't realize just how lax state laws really are.
He's 42. He's already been married twice. He has 2 younger kids. At this point, I'm just barely 15.
Well, my mother figured it was a good idea for me to be married to this rapist.
I am an American girl who was taken off American soil. I was a passport to this man.
I'm surprised at the opposition that we get changing child marriage.
For the most part, the opposition has come from the far right. And yet in California, we were shocked that the opposition came from the other side.
The right to marry is a reproductive health rights and justice issue. 16 and 17-year-olds have the right to be supported. They're not children, they're not toddlers.
We have been married for 3 months. There's a lot of kids that have to grow up fast.
What the hell? No. Nope. Not okay. Maybe, wait, chat, is this making, testing, is this, like, me being an out-of-touch fuddy-duddy, or is this really fucked up? Because I feel like it's really fucked up. %, of 200,000 underage girls married adults.
We lived in a trailer park. My mom did not enroll me in school. So there was this man that would often be outside smoking on the front porch of the trailer. And
oh, by the way, this just content warning, trigger warning, okay? This could get potentially triggering, okay? Just as a heads up.
I noticed him watching me a few times, you know, just walking by. And then one day he was like, hey, are you new around here? He's 42. He's already been married twice. He has 2 younger kids. He started commenting on, you know, I was so beautiful and I look older than, you know, I really am. And then like he would put his hand on my thigh, and then it just progressed into more inappropriate behavior. And at this point, my mom kind of figured out that I was spending time at his house. So she called the police, and she was like, I know what's going on and whatnot. And so he was arrested. He made bail, you know, he's waiting a trial. And then my mom, she starts telling me that this is my fault, that I've done this. I've seduced this person, that, you know, he's going to lose his job. He's going to lose his children. He's going to go to jail. And it's up to me to fix it.
No.
And my mom, I mean, I could write a book alone just on the schemes and the shenanigans that my mom came up with. You know, this wasn't unusual. So this proposition comes to me that if I get married to him, then since we're married to each other, I can't testify against him. And so they're not going to have a case and the charges will be dropped. So really, my mom was the one that organized all of this. At this point, I'm just barely 15. And I didn't really believe that I could get married at my age. In the conversations that we had, he said, you know what, I can help you out. So if you marry me, then I'm not going to have to worry about going to jail, and my life is not going to be turned upside down. And then I know that your home life is really bad, so you can stay with me and then get out of that situation. So that's how it was kind of presented to me.
Gross. Yeah, if he didn't want to go to jail, don't be a, like, child molester.
So this is our collection of wedding gowns that people donate to us that we can use for our chain-ins, where we protest child marriage wearing bridal gowns and veils with our wrists chained and our mouths taped to show the world what life looks like when a girl or a woman is forced to marry. When I say I'm working to end child marriage, people say, oh, that's great. Are you working in Iran? Are you...
I know that this is very much not the point of this video, but she looks like Kira from Deep Space Nine, and I think that's cool.
Working in Africa? No, I'm talking about right here in the United States, whatever state you live in. I'm working there or have worked there to end child marriage. So the typical exceptions to the marriage age are, across the U.S., of course the laws vary, but the typical ones are you can marry before 18 if you have parental consent, or in some cases, judicial approval. And I want to talk about why both of those are really dangerous. So first, parental consent. That is typically nothing more than a parent's signature on a form. We know that when someone here in the United States is forced to marry, the perpetrators are almost always the parents. Having the parents sign a form before they force a child to marry, it does nothing to protect the child. Nobody even asks the child, are you okay with this? There's no interview process at all. In fact, I know of several different survivors who showed up sobbing at the clerk's office. Some of them openly begged for help, and there's nothing that the clerk...
Parkside Tuan, unfortunately, it's far more widespread than just a single cult or a single creep
could do. The judicial approval process in a lot of states, first of all, has no criteria that a judge is required to consider before approving the marriage of a child. The judge, in many cases, is not even required to interview the child or the other party. Not, by the way, that would even help, because in states where the judge is required to interview the child, what we have found is that these kids are too scared to tell the judge what's actually happening because they have to go home with their parents. They're kids. They live with their parents.
Some states, if the victim marries the perpetrator of rape, it ceases to be a crime.
I was abused as a child. I was forced to be married at the age of 11, but I was also raped at the age of 8. And then again at the age of 9, which I got pregnant from.
Oh my God.
And then I had my daughter at the age of 10. And then at 11, I was forced to marry my rapist. They put the handcuffs on me and let him go free. He was the deacon.
He was the
deacon? That's how I met him. He was the deacon in the church.
Oh my God.
Well, my mother figured it was a good idea. She thought it was such a great idea, she made my wedding dress. She made the wedding cake, and she took me to the courthouse that would marry me. because the first courthouse she went to in Tampa, Florida, refused. The judge refused and said they would not do it, that she had to find somewhere else to get it done for me to be married to this rapist. So she did. And she went to Pinellas County Courthouse, and the only thing they requested was a letter that I signed that I did give birth to a child.
Oh my God.
And I signed that letter. And she's allowing this to happen. She's not saying, no, you're not going to do my daughter that way at all. I'm a mother, a wife, and like they say, a 5th grader. And he have yet to spend any time in jail.
So a wife, a mother, and a 5th grader. Jesus fucking Christ.
The term statutory rape typically refers to a criminal law, and a criminal law that says that if someone is...
As a reminder, folks, we do not break TOS in chat, okay?
Under a certain age, and sometimes also if someone else, the other party, is over a certain age, then sex between the two of them would be a crime. Age at marriage in some states is set lower than you can legally consent to sex with a person, with the same party, right, outside of marriage. In some states, sex before marriage isn't permitted between those parties, but it is sanctioned once you are married. That is, there's a specific defense saying if the parties are married, what would have been statutory rape just isn't. So what is so stunning about that really is that the civil courts are permitting and sanctioning and handing out quite literally a license to engage in behavior that criminal courts would penalize and put someone perhaps on a sex offender registry for.
I think we all used to think the best thing for a pregnant teenage girl is if she gets married. She and the baby are better off. And actually what studies show is a pregnant teenage girl in the United States who marries is more likely to suffer economic deprivation and instability than a pregnant teenage girl who stays single.
Once married, she's more likely to become pregnant again, pregnant multiple times, pregnant at a young age.
She's 50% more likely to drop out of high school and 4 times less likely ever to finish college.
Women who marry as girls also face risks of divorce up to 80%. Those who marry underage are already divorced 23% of the time by the time they turn age 18.
If she marries young here in the United States, she's 31% more likely to end up living in poverty as an adult. If she's married at or before...
Well, yeah, because she has to deal... Like, these kids have to deal with, like, lifetimes of trauma. Like, dealing with trauma takes time and energy. And often resources.
For 18 in the United States, a girl or a woman faces a 23% increased risk of heart attack, cancer, diabetes, and stroke. I mean, this can literally kill.
So they promised you to your cousin at 8? Yes. I left America as a 14-year-old. October 24th, I turned 15 in Pakistan. That January, I had to go live with him, so I was only 15. I was only 15. It was a legal marriage. I was legally married in the eyes of the Pakistani government and the American government. I am an American girl who was taken off the American New York, like Long Island soil. I'm a Queens girl. And I was a passport to this man.
In nearly all states, a resident of a foreign country can receive a green card by marrying a minor who is an American citizen.
Inside of me, I was dying, especially the moment when nighttime came and I had to go into the bedroom. I went into the bedroom and...
If you've found this video, and you're like a QAnon person, if you are a Q person, and you're putting all of your effort into like putting Donald Trump in office. Donald Trump had 4 years, okay? Donald Trump had 4 years to do something as simple as making sure children aren't getting married to adults and then raped, okay? If you're a QAnon person, your time and energy to protect children would be better spent organizing locally with people who are trying to end child marriage in the United States. Okay? If you want to make your actual activism, your actual community worthwhile, show up and make sure that child marriage is banned in every single state. Because right now, it's legal in almost every single state. Yeah, Obama, Bush, every president, Joe Biden, every president has had the ability to influence whether or not this is legal. And the fact that it is legal in almost every single state is an atrocity.
He was there and he came, and I remember putting like a big pillow in between us. All night he tried to like touch me and stuff, and I didn't know what to tell him. I told him, I don't like you. So he was very disappointed, and he started getting meaner by the day. And on the 10th day, I realized I can't do this anymore. I get to Islamabad, but when I get off the bus terminal, it's all men, and the Taliban are out and about. I live in the northwest frontier, which is very dangerous. Eventually I gave in, called the uncle to come and get me. And when he came and got me, he was basically telling me, you know, everything's gonna be okay. And I hear a Jeep pull up, and I heard like footsteps jumping out of it. It's like a high Jeep, and then I heard the click of the AK-47s. And I was like, oh my God. I sat in the car, my ex-husband was in the front, my aunt was here, my other cousin was driving. He goes, you're a whore, your mom is a whore. And he turns and he backhanded me in the back, like he's in the front, he turns and he backhanded me. I remember thinking to myself, is the bullet gonna burn? Are they gonna stab me? Are they gonna put acid on me?
Jesus.
And he took me and whipped me with the electrical cable in front of everyone. And I remember my mother screaming so hard, but she couldn't do anything. They had to hold my older sister, like, because she was going insane. I'm now living in hell, getting raped every day, cooking for the family, just living in hell, being a slave.
More than 8,600 visa petitions approved for spouses or fiancés between 2007 and 2017 involved a child. Holy fuck.
The United States government has some really beautifully written policies on child marriage, articulating that it's a human rights abuse in and of itself, but also that it's a human rights abuse that can perpetuate other human rights abuses, such as, you know, the right to live free from violence, the right to education. U.S. domestic policy is a totally separate ball of wax because states' rights are so important, and the way this country was founded really matters in the way that laws on marriage play out. So they're very uneven. So right now the state of play is that the immigration system allows for children to be taken abroad to be married, often forced into a marriage, or for minors to be brought into this country to marry adult American citizens.
Right now, shockingly,
Insane.
there is no minimum age in the United States to petition for a foreign spouse or fiancé or to be the beneficiary of a spousal or fiancé visa. And we know that thousands of children are being forced to marry so that they can petition for an overseas spouse.
They encounter resistance on establishing a minimum age? Here's a question. How old do you think it's okay for a child to have sex? How old? Answers that are below the age of consent are self-reports, okay?
The United States has always had a vested interest in regulating marriage because being married gets you certain things and gets you treated in certain ways. So it's a national policy issue as much as it is about love and relationships. It is clear that right now...
Oh, to be clear, non-binary superpowers, the United States doesn't invade to install human rights and democracy. That's never the goal of our invasions.
more and more people are interested in paying attention to the issue of child marriage. And there are activist groups that are very much hoping to close off those exceptions,
35.
the loopholes in the laws, and make some...
Darth Gently is the only person who answered accurately. 69. You have to be 69 in order to have sex, okay?
Generally speaking, 18 as the sort of the absolute minimum without exception. Even in a moment when there's concern about children getting married, it's still garnered a fair bit of support, and we even see this today when people are worried about restricting young people from getting married, largely because of issues around sex. So when people have supported the rights of children to marry, it's because either they fear that they are having sex outside of marriage and they believe that sex would be better contained within marriage, or because a girl is pregnant and there's a sustained belief that the child will be better off if raised within a marital home.
For the most part, the opposition has come from the far right. And yet in California, it was, I guess because of that, that we were shocked that the opposition came from the other side. There were groups that consider themselves feminist and consider themselves progressive that said that somehow ending child marriage is going to impede reproductive rights. It's going to undermine reproductive rights, and therefore they were opposed to it.
How?
We're the policy and political arm in the state of Maryland for reproductive rights. We look at how we can help individuals through policies, through laws, through...
Please explain to me, lady, how allowing children to marry adults helps their reproductive rights.
Best practices in education to make sure that every individual can decide if, when, and how they form their families. For the last 3 years, they've introduced the bill to ban marriage under the age of 18, and we've been opponents of this legislation. When you ban marriage under the age of 18, what you're doing is not recognizing that the right to marry is a reproductive health rights and justice issue. And I believe that the proponents for this were concerned about forced marriage, specifically under the age of 18. And it's a reproductive rights issue for us to all want to eliminate forced marriage, but it was butting two of those issues against one another. The right to marry figures into pregnancy decision making. And so if a young person is pregnant and her parent or legal guardian won't let her be with her partner or marry her partner, that could figure into whether or not she feels that she can be a parent.
If she was impregnated by an adult, that adult should be going to prison. Like the pregnant person's autonomy doesn't figure into that equation. It doesn't figure into the violation of, like, her consent. If she's a child, she can't consent.
And do we really want to set up young people for reproductive coercion? Having the right to marry allows us to access health insurance with our partner. We can be married and have access to married school, married student housing in colleges. We have the right.
I cannot believe that she is smiling while talking about how 86% of child marriages are to adults.
Access military benefits. We solidify our custody and visitation rights. And those all are very important. We felt that it made sense.
Bye, Finn. Thanks for stopping by. It's always nice seeing you in chat.
At the age to consent to sex being the age of 16, that 16 and 17-year-olds would have this right to marry.
Yeah, you can write legislation that gives Romeo and Juliet loopholes. We already have that for the age of consent laws. We already have this. Like, you can write legislation to be like, hey, yeah, you can get married, like, to someone who's you can have sex with somebody who's like 18 if you're 16. You can have sex with somebody who's under the age of consent if you're also under the age of consent. Like, there are ways you can make this work that don't require you to just say, yes, all child marriages are good because of an issue of child autonomy. Like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. This is what happens when the left starts thinking children are smart enough to have the same rights as adults. No, it's not the issue that children aren't smart enough to make the correct choices, Happy Puritan. The issue is that children can be coerced into doing things that they don't want to do by adults. That's the issue. That is the fundamental issue of consent when it comes to children. That is the fundamental issue of coercion when it comes to children. Good night, Johnny Prophet. Don't legalize marriage as if children should have equal rights. That's how it is right now. Except, demonstrably, children don't have the same rights as, like, their parents, which is how the parents can coerce them into becoming green card marriages or becoming child sex slaves. Like, yeah, children can be coerced because they don't have the same legal protections as adults in the United States. God. This is frustrating as hell. I get you a lot of apples.
Apollo.
He is not 40, he's like, yep, no.
Apollo, are you being camera shy?
We can't have that.
Athena said hi. My name's Carmen Littlejohn, and I'm 17.
My name is Blake Littlejohn. I'm 19.
How long have you guys been married? About
2 months-ish.
3.
2 or 3.
We live with my dad, my 2 sisters, 1 half and 1 step, and my stepmom. My situation growing up wasn't easy. It wasn't always stable. It was difficult because we moved around a lot. My stepdad, he's in the military, babies. So we moved all over Florida, and we've been to Washington State. We lived in Texas 1 year. Yeah, we just moved around a lot, and it was hard for me, in school especially, and making friends. So I wanted to stay in one place, and this is my home.
So you are an emancipated minor?
Yes, I am an emancipated minor. That was one thing my mom didn't want. She didn't want me to leave her.
And all of that fear of the kid growing up and going away.
And I understood it, but it was almost as if she was kind of controlling me. So I've always wanted to live here, and we as in me and my dad, tried to look for a way to go against our custody arrangement without having to go to court. And so my stepmom looked into our court arrangement, and it basically stated that if I got married, it would not exist. So she found a way for us to get married in a short period of time. So this has gotten me to a point where I can advance everything I wanted to do and just start it early in life.
Too early?
I don't think it's too early.
Never too early. You only live once.
I don't think parents should really, I mean, there are some things they need to control, but you come to a point in your life where you make your own decisions.
How young is too young?
15 and 16, that's probably too young,
Yeah.
in my opinion. You gotta at least know what the real world's like. You gotta be out.
She's 17 years old. I mean, like, look, I'm okay with these two people being married. This is fine. This is within, like, age of consent, like, boundaries to me. But, like, yeah, when you're talking, like, about like, a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and a 42-year-old,
her situation's a lot different.
Well, Happy Puritan, here's the issue. If you're a parental authoritarian, the reason most of these kids are getting married to adults is because of the parents. Like, the parents are the ones marrying the kids off.
Too much traveling, going to too many different schools. I understand why she had such a wanting to be in Texas. The law doesn't know who you are, what you've been through. Like, the law is not you. Can't
Right.
tell you you're not grown. They don't know what you've been through in your life.
Yeah. There's a lot of kids, I guess you could call them kids, or people that are underage that have to grow up fast. And they have to take on responsibilities at a young age. And I feel like if you show that you have those characteristics and have had to do those, that you should be able to make decisions like that.
The arguments against child marriage.
Sure, with kids that are within your own age range, sure, okay.
Marriage have nothing to do with maturity. Legislators like to think of them as young women. They're not. They're girls. They're not adults. They're girls who in many cases don't even have the right to file for divorce or get into a domestic violence shelter. If you're not old enough to file for divorce, I'm sorry. You're not old enough to...
Well, yeah, I think any... Let me be clear. I think any sane actor, any sane government, or, like... Yeah, you should have your civil rights protected by the state. For as long as we have a state, they should be interested in protecting your civil rights. As far as I know, or at least if it's not, it should be, getting raped is not like a right that you should have. Like, no one should be able to rape you. And that is what child marriage opens you up to.
get married. And if you can that easily be trapped in a marriage, then that marriage just shouldn't be an option for you.
California has a more protective legal and policy landscape for young people than many other states. Our organization worked with Senator Hill's office on bill amendments to reflect and build upon that. Well, again, the emancipation laws are literally for cases where kids need to escape their living situation because of their parents. Wait. We withdrew our opposition after those amendments were made, and we continue to advocate for California-based solutions that support young people to lead in leading healthy lives. Okay, so they made amendments, and the ACLU dropped their case and opposition.
Since 2016, there have been 20 states that have passed bills to end or limit child marriage, and there have been several more that have taken up legislation or are in the process of considering it. And that's a really striking outcome in a very short period of time. I'm optimistic, actually, that at this point in the movement that we are going to continue to see this kind of exponential growth in the awareness by the public and policymakers. Delaware, the first state, became the first state.
Well, once you're emancipated, you can do a lot of the things that you want to do without parental consent. Like, I don't know. I don't know what you want here, Happy Puritan. And not a hard line. It's the age range that matters. So 2 high school aged people can get married and have consensual sex, but a high schooler and a middle-aged person cannot. Does the sex of either party matter to you? The sex of either party does not matter to me. And yes, I think Romeo and Juliet laws are good for the reason I stated, for age ranges. But yeah, you shouldn't be able to, like, go get married to an adult. Also, I'll be right back. Need to use the bathroom. Exactly, Isaac Inanimate. A lot of these people just don't care when the rubber meets the road.
To ban child marriage altogether under the age of 18. We now have several more states that have...
Also, by the way, sorry, I know I'm being a pause champ here. I wasn't in the tab and you startled me. I'm sorry. But one of the issues here, right, is that I lost my train of thought.
Set that bar at legal adulthood, either 18 or having just a narrow exception.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. What I was going to say is that one of the big arguments for child marriage as it relates to, like, bodily autonomy for, like, young girls and young people in general would largely be alleviated by things like having a decommodified healthcare system where literally every single person in the United States is able to get medical care. It would be alleviated by housing issues, like housing first initiatives and decommodifying housing. It would be alleviated by having decommodified foodstuffs that people have ready access to. It'd be alleviated by a number of these different support mechanisms that we have the ability to do right now. And we just choose not to. We don't have the political will to do it. And that's what I'm here to tell you. If we have the political will to do this, we can both outlaw child marriage and we can also make sure that children aren't compromising their bodily autonomy so that they can get things like food, shelter, clothing, etc. We can do this right now. It doesn't have to be an either-or situation. We can do this. Riverboat Jack for president immediately. One day. One day when America can handle a sex worker president.
Minors. It's a start in a much longer journey for that state and for the nation as a whole.
Also, man, they did a really bad job on her audio in these segments.
I helped change the law in Florida. I advocated that law.
Yo, Azazel Bedazzle, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you for getting in on the end of September. Just a reminder, subs are 20% off until midnight if you're on a PC. So get on it, friendos, if you would like to support the channel via gift subs. Hiccup. Hiccup again.
And it is changed to 17, which is a lot better. Now we have a floor.
You know, I've been doing this for 5 years. 5 years of nonstop work, and I've seen changes in New Jersey. It was one of the best moments of my life.
Indiana has not changed their laws. They're one of 6 states that are left that have the pregnancy exception. So you can be 15 and pregnant and marry somebody who is 18, 28, 68, 78, whatever.
End child marriage now! Ask us and we'll tell you how! Only bills that we at Unchained at Last fight for are a hard 18. No child should be forced to marry. Ever. Period. End of sentence.
Based. Yeah, by the way, notice that even the like 17-year-old that they interviewed for this piece, she didn't say like, oh, hey, I want to get married. She had to say, I want to be emancipated and do it with the minimum amount of legal trouble for everyone involved. And so she had to get married to find the legal loophole, you know? Like, yeah, you came back at a good time, McSpiels. I wish I knew what to do and how to organize. I want to help, but I'm mentally ill in a red state. I'm totally lost on what to do and how to make a difference. Well, so for one of these, for at least this issue, there is an organization called, oh gosh, what's it called? 1 second, I can get that for you in just a minute. Just a moment. And we'll turn on some comforting lo-fi. Here we go. If you want to do something to help, there is an organization called Unchained at Last, which is about ending child marriage in the United States, in every single state. In fact, there is an interactive map that they use on the page that I just linked in chat that allows people to see kind of the progress that's being made. So far, if red states have bills passed that ends child marriage, so Minnesota, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Rhode Island, along with American Samoa and the U.S. Virgin Islands. But other states, previous bills have failed. That's blue. No action are the black states. Still strong bill pending, so that would be good. Weak bill pending is gray, which it looks like Hawaii. And limits on child marriage are in the pink. So like typically 17 or 16, looks like. But there's still a lot of work to be done when it comes to ending child marriage. So if you would like to help, you can go to, again, unchainedatlast.org, and they do a lot of work to organize and end child marriages in the U.S. Hey, Riverboat Jack, I'm applying as a job as a video editor. Do you think I should put my photo on the resume or no? Do they ask for your photo? Typically, I wouldn't include a photo with a resume. Yeah, no, Azazel Bedazzle, like, you have stories right now about, like, child marriage in, like, the Afghani refugees coming to the United States, but, like, we literally marry more children in the United States than exist in the refugees we're taking in. But, you know, again, the reason I brought up this story in the first place was largely because QAnon purports to want to save the children, right? Well, there are actual mechanisms that people can use that aren't related to batshit conspiracy theories to actually save children. Yeah, Unchained at Last was also the organization that published the research revealing that nearly 300,000 children, some as young as 10, were married in the United States between 2000 and 2018. Mostly girls wed to adult men. So we gotta keep pushing on this issue, and I will keep talking about it.